Hey, my name is Jacqueline and in this video I'm bringing you my March wrap-up part 1. It's been March now for about a week and I've finished some books. I was actually going to film this in a different location, but stuff happened and well, we're here now with my just washed hair. So it's not tied up because when it's just dry I don't do that yet. But anyway, sorry about laundry in the background. Yeah. So I read 6 books in the first week of March. Although to be fair, I think I started some of them before March. But anyway, let's just get into it. Timestamps will be in the description down below in case you're interested in a particular book. And I'm gonna go in the order that I finished these. There's a variety of genres here. So the first book I finished in March is Fudge, Cupcake, Murder by Joanne Fluke. This is book 5 in the Hannah Swensen series. I read this together with my friend Sarah. Now that I look at it, the yellow of the author's name on this book really kind of matches the yellow on my wall. This was another great cozy mystery, just like the first 4 in this series. I've talked about this series before in earlier videos, so I won't go into too much detail. This series is about Hannah Swensen, who owns a shop called the Cookie Jar, where she sells cookies and other kinds of sweet things, but mostly cookies and things like that. The book also includes some recipes. In this one, the local Sheriff Grant, she happens to find him dead in a, is it called a dumpster? Yeah, in the dumpster behind the high school. And yeah, it was fun, made me laugh. I found it really enjoyable. The second book I finished in March is Hunger by Roxane Gay. I read Feminist recently. Was it February? I think in February, yeah. So I picked up Hunger, which is her memoir. Feminist was written before that, and that was a collection of essays. I like this book. I will say it comes with some content warnings. It should come with some content warnings, so if you're interested in reading that, just know that there are some difficult topics discussed in here. Potentially triggering topics also regarding to eating disorders, sexual assault. I just wanted to say that because I struggled in a few places. Very good read, though. Yeah, I think I liked Feminist slightly more, but yeah, I liked it. I thought it was nicely written. Don't really know what more to say about it. I think I rated it 4 stars. If I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen. Oh, I forgot to say, but Hunger also discusses themes like racism and feminism. Roxane Gay is a black fat woman. I'm tired, but I want to do this video now, so. And I don't have lots of time, so that's why I'm trying to, I want to be done I don't have lots of time. I want to be done before I need to go. So, the next book that I finished is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. This is a memoir written in verse. I'll show you a few pages about the author growing up. I really liked this. Love this. This was excellent. I really liked it. Jacqueline Woodson grew up as a brown black girl in the south of the United States it says here on the back, in the 1960s and 70s. And yeah, I thought this was really, yeah, well written and a great read. I thought, great memoir. My particular edition came with some extra bits at the end that the author has written, and yeah. Then I read Weet dat al by Anneke Cornelissen. This was a purely nostalgic read for me. Last year in October I was at a secondhand book fair, which was amazing because I hadn't gone to one since 2019, and I haven't gone to one since but hopefully events will come back again at some point. Anyway, I saw this book there and I was like, I recognize that. I remember reading that as a kid from the library. So I bought a copy for myself. It was not that expensive. I was very excited to see it. So this was purely a nostalgic read for me. This book was written in the 1990s and it is about, well, it says here like answers to questions that children ask. It is divided into different categories. So we have questions and answers about animals, nature, earth, the human body, natuurkunde, like science and physics and society. And the book has illustrations, which for me were very nostalgic to see. Now, since this book was written in the 1990s, I do not recommend this book to anyone reading it nowadays, because there are better and more up-to-date books out there. For me, this was purely a nostalgic read, and I really liked it for that. If you have a nostalgic connection to this book, definitely read it. If you don't have that nostalgic connection, I wouldn't recommend you go out and buy this. I don't even know if you can. It's probably out of print since it was published in 1992. This book is quite old. What I mean is, some bits in this book were like assuming that like, well, I can't find the page now, but for example, like it says things like, when your mother cooks milk in a pan, why does it boil over? Something like that. The question exactly doesn't matter. The fact that it assumes that it is the mother that does the cooking. It's things like that that show that the book is dated. And there were a couple of other things like that where you can feel it's dated, it's assuming certain things. One question was about potatoes, and I don't know where it is exactly, but it went something like, I can't remember the exact question, but the thing that was dated was that you eat potatoes most days, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. But in Dutch culture, or at least white Dutch culture, white Dutch people back in many years ago did eat a lot of potatoes. So yeah, the book is dated, and so yeah, so there are better books like this out there. I read it for nostalgic reasons. I loved feeling that nostalgia, and you know, even though I haven't seen this book since I was a kid, but it just made me feel nostalgic. Just seeing the illustrations, reading the text, seeing the font. Yeah. But yeah, so I enjoyed reading it, but I wouldn't recommend to anyone who doesn't have that nostalgic. And obviously, since I'm an adult, I knew a lot of the things that were in the book, the answers, the questions that were answered. My reason for reading was purely nostalgia. So. The next book I finished is The Creakers by Tom Fletcher, illustrated by Devries. I buddy read this book together with Linda from Linda's Older Books. We buddy read Tom Fletcher's first two Christmas Horrors books together, and we're planning to read book 3 in December. Hopefully Linda can find it to buy at some point. Anyway, this is a standalone, but it does have a loose connection to the Christmas Horrors books. Here's the back. This is a children's book. It is whimsical and kind of magical. It is about the Creakers who, as it says here, not all monsters stay under the bed. So one day, our main character is Lucy. She wakes up and all the grown-ups have vanished. It says late one night, Lucy spots 4 mysterious creatures creeping around her bedroom. They are the Creakers. These 4 are called Grunt, Guff, Scratch and Sniff. Yeah, this was another amazing read. First off, the illustrations are beautiful. It's the same illustrator as the Christmas Horrors books. And the writing style was also quite funny and quirky in a way that appeals to children and also to me. I'm reading this as an adult. Yeah, Linda and I both really liked this book. It made us want to keep reading. There was a twist in here and I was like, And yeah, this was just delightful, and yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, so I've read 3 books now by this author, 3 children's books, and I've loved all 3 of them. So yeah, definitely, yeah, I really liked it. And I guess it would be a bit younger than middle grade. Like, I would be on the younger side of middle grade. I don't use the category middle grade myself because in the Netherlands we don't have middle school, to my knowledge. I feel like it feels on middle grade, but then on the younger than the older side. Anyway, the last book that I wanted to talk about in this video is called Dig by A.S. King. A.S. King is one of my favorite authors, and I have many favorite authors. I haven't actually talked about her that much on my channel, I think, because most of the books I read by her, I read before I started my channel. So I think, in fact, there's only, I read, was it called Switch by her, and I did a video on that, but I don't think I did a video on any of her other books, because I think I read them all before, is that? Yeah, anyway, I've read most of her books, almost all of them, in fact, I really liked all of them. I mean, some I like more than others. But yeah, this was another great one. I love this. More than the Switch, well, I'll try to link that video down below. Now, A.S. King writes, and obviously her books are different, but most of her books involve some kind of, and I think the right word is surrealist elements. And so if you don't like that, if you want a book that is like completely 100% contemporary realistic, that this is not the author for you in most cases, but I love it, and you know, I know to expect that from her, so that helps. I don't think this is the best place to start, even though it is an amazing book. My first one was, I'm blanking right now on the title. I haven't read her she's written 2 books for middle grade, and I haven't read those yet. Ask the Passengers. It is called Ask the Passengers. Oh, that's not really, yeah, that's a bit too bright, but that was my first A.S. King. I loved it, and I went on to buy and read more of her books. The only thing I really didn't like was her short story collection. Monica Never Shuts Up, I think it's called, which is one of the stories in it, but I think the whole collection's called that. I hated it. Would not recommend, but I've really liked all her young adult novels, and I haven't read the 2 middle grades yet. But this book doesn't have a list in the front or something for a published book. She's been with several different publishers, I think. But anyway, here is the synopsis, which is probably a bit too long for you to read. This book is about a family. I don't find this a book that's easy to explain. In fact, I actually tried reading it before a while ago, but I was also reading a couple other books, and I ended up putting this down. And now I felt in the mood this week, and so I picked it back up. I actually started over because I couldn't quite remember exactly, because there's quite a few characters in here, and so I needed to be in an okay place for my brain to place everyone, because some of them are not known by their names, if that makes sense. So like it says here, the shoveler, the freak, can I help you? Loretta, the flea circus ringmistress, and first class Markham. These are the 5 teenagers lost in the Hemmings family's maze of tangled secrets. So these are the 5 main characters. Only a generation removed from being, and I'm reading the synopsis now, being Pennsylvania potato farmers, Gottfried and Marla Hemmings managed to trade digging spuds for developing subdivisions and now sit atop $1 million bank account. Both they've declined to pass on to their adult children or their teenage grandchildren. Well, and it goes on, but you know, don't want to read the whole thing to you. But so for myself, I at some point I wrote down a bit like who is who and the connection stuff, but it, you know, I can't really show you because some of it is, you know, you find out later in the book and stuff, so I can't show you that. Besides, my handwriting is really not that great at this point. I can write more nicely, but then I have to spend a lot more time and effort into it, and it takes longer. So when I make a note just for myself, I don't tend to do that. This was obviously just a quick note, so I won't show you because it could contain some spoilers and stuff. So, but yeah, anyway, I really like her writing style. The book, some bits are written in first person, some bits are in third person, depending on whose point of view you see. So certain characters are always written from a certain view. Does that make sense? Like, for example, Can I Help You's perspective? That's her, yeah, is always in first person, present tense. So I think it's all in present tense actually, yeah. But, and certain other people, for example, they're always in third person, present tense. If that, does that make sense? Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I really like her writing style. I really like this book. So there are those surrealist elements in it. Let's see if I can find you something that happens like near the beginning that, and I think this book would definitely also be great upon reread, which I haven't actually reread any of her books yet, but I would like to reread, like most of the ones I read by her I've read years ago, so I would like to actually reread some of them sometime. Let's see if I find anything that happens near the beginning that, so the freak, she flickers, and then what that means is she's going to different, she like teleports to different locations, if that makes sense. That's just an example, but Loretta, the flea circus ring mistress, or just Loretta, she has a flea circus, she has fleas that she keeps, and she thinks about things as if she's giving a show for an audience sort of thing. And the fleas are talking to each other, and well, I'm not explaining all this very well. It is kind of hard to explain sometimes, to wrap your head around these elements, and I'm hoping using the correct word. These elements are more or less also in her other books in other ways. So if you are familiar with her work, you recognize it. Racism is a part of this book themes, poverty and class. Oh, this takes place in the United States. Well, I said that actually, yeah, because it says Pennsylvania there. Yeah, and yeah, I love this. I mean, I'm obviously biased going into it because I really like this author and the books she writes. So, except the short story collection, but so yeah, I have 2 middle grade books still to read, or are they more children's? I'm not sure, but yeah, she's written a whole bunch of stuff. I love this. So overall, well, bugger that, the camera stopped recording because there's a maximum file size. Which, that makes sense, that's the hard limits of SD cards, and then it stops, and so we have to start a new file, but it was just before I... so yeah, this, and that is not really in, yeah, perhaps the best order, but this was a great week of reading for me. Yeah, I liked or loved all of these books, and well, I wouldn't recommend them all. I would recommend almost all of them, but it does depend on the person, obviously. I like to usually recommend books more individually when I know a person's tastes, whether I think they might like a specific book or not. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!